Good morning, friends. I thought I'd share with you, just in the middle of the month, a bit about a celebration of wool yesterday. So my husband Matt and I drove down to Canberra on Friday afternoon and we spent the night, which was lovely. We had a heater in our room and we got to just lay in bed for a little while, which was nice. We used to get out quite early, but I don't think we got up to like 8 or 8:30 or something. So that was lovely. And then we went down to the old bus depot markets in Canberra and went to a celebration of wool, and we met up with Deanne of Addydae Designs and Natalie, who's T for Talia, and Clare, who is Bob Wilson 123. And it's lovely hanging out with these guys. Such a good time. I also met up with a friend of mine from high school who lives down there as well. And yes, it was lovely. So I thought I'd share with you all of the yarn I bought and also some lovely gifts they gave me, which I feel I didn't even consider taking gifts. Something to think about for next time, I guess. Oh dear. I don't know, I love gifts, but I suppose the obligation of gift giving is less fun. I love giving gifts and I love receiving gifts. Anyway, that's enough about gifts. I'm here to talk about wool. So we went down to Canberra. Matt took some photos of my blurred lines sweater, which you can see one of them on Instagram, which was lovely. I've actually posted like 3 times to Instagram yesterday, which is a bit of a record. I'm not very good at the regular Instagram posting. Oh, there goes my voice. Yeah, sometimes I go a week without posting to Instagram and then suddenly 3 posts in one day. Anyway, I'm drinking some coffee with vanilla syrup in it. I just love vanilla. And yeah. I also have been eating probably way too much sugar with these caramel waffles, which if you live in Australia, they are at some Woolworths. We don't normally shop at Woolworths, we normally shop at Coles. But we have started occasionally shopping at Woolworths because I love those caramel waffles, or I believe originally called strip waffles, but those ones are labelled caramel waffles in Australia. Yes, I think they're from possibly the Netherlands and called strip waffles. I could be very wrong about that. Anyway, let's get into the wool. So I had a plan. I went with a plan of a few different projects I wanted to buy yarn for, and yeah, some of them I was like, maybe projects I'll buy yarn for, some of them were definite, and yeah, there was maybe one that was like, probably not. So the first one on the list, so you know how I've been knitting, if you've watched my last video, I've been knitting a So Faded sweater for myself. I've decided I want to knit one for someone else. I'm not going to say who, just in case they are watching or someone who knows them is watching, but yes, I'm going to knit someone else a fingering weight sweater, but they're worth it, definitely worth it. I didn't end up getting yarn for that yesterday, but I have plans of where and when I'm going to buy that yarn, just because I'm looking for something fairly specific, and there wasn't quite that yesterday, and so trying to find a fade is, like, there were some fade sets there yesterday, which was great, but I suppose I still haven't decided on what colour scheme I'm going to go with, so I'll have to work that out. The second one, I'll grab my phone because I wrote a list rather than trying to memorise it. The second one I wanted to get yarn for was the Nurtured sweater by, I think it's J. Renee Knits, which is a worsted weight sweater, which I haven't seen a lot of like hand-dyed yarn for in Australia, for worsted weight. We have a lot of fingering weight and double knit, and then the occasional like sport weight, worsted weight, bulky. It really depends on the dye, but it's mostly fingering weight, and then next most is DK or A-ply, which I think is similar to a light worsted from memory. I really struggle to remember all the different names, like, and how thick they're meant to be. But anyway, so I did find some yarn. So Claire bought some of this yarn. I believe it was Claire. And pointed it out to me, and so I went and had a look. And it's a worsted weight yarn. it is beautiful. So this, it's quite a like a bluey green. It's like a, well, it's called teal feather, which I think is beautiful. It might come up different in editing, but to me it looks slightly more green than it does on the camera at the moment. But it's beautiful. So this is 100 grams of worsted weight yarn. Well, only $20 each, which is great, because I was worried, because for the pattern, it's 5 skeins, 500 grams. Well, I think 470 grams you need for one of the sizes, and I was considering doing the next size up, but that's 520 grams. So I'm not going to do that one. Just for an extra 20 grams of yarn. I can't remember what the yardages and stuff are at the moment, but yes, this is only 20 grams a skein. And I've definitely spent, in the past, more than $100 on yarn for a sweater quantity. It's really beautiful. It's so nice and soft. Yes, so the brand is Malabrigo. And I think there's a card in here of where I bought it from. There we go. Oh, a little magnet from the Yarn Bar, which I've never heard of before, but that's fun. They had a good selection of a few different yarns. Yeah, got 5 skeins of this beautiful teal yarn to make a nurtured sweater. And look, I had my own bag, so I was mostly saying I didn't need a bag, but they were too quick for me at this shop. And then I didn't mind because it says, saw the yarn, wanted the yarn, bought the yarn. The Yarn Bar. Of course, it's their name is on the back too. So that's fun. Saw the yarn, wanted the yarn, bought the yarn. Yep. Accurate. So that was the first thing I bought. I saw it, so I like to do like a whole lap and look at all the stores and think about what is on my list that might work, and then go back and buy things once I'm set, which does mean I risk missing out on particular yarn I've been looking at. But I suppose I'm willing to take that risk to make sure I don't buy something and then find something more appropriate or that I like more. And also, like, then you consider, you're like, do I really like this yarn, or am I just buying it on the spur of the moment? If you give it, you know, a couple of hours to think about. Anyway, that's just me. But yeah, it worked out well. I got 5 skeins of that one, and I think because they had 2 or 3 hanging up, and then they had more under their table. They had another 6 or so skeins, which was great. I think that's, yeah, kind of what you've got to do, because like people at these sorts of things are gonna want to buy sweaters quantity of yarn, especially when it's that beautiful. And like yesterday we were chatting, and a lot of the others were saying they hadn't used any of the yarn they bought last year, whereas I think I've used most of the yarn I bought last year because I had specific projects in mind. I bought this yarn at a celebration of wool last year. I had the kind of mustardy yarn that I used in my Netherton pullover that I bought last year, and then the yarn from my 3 spring shawl. And then I had a few minis on top of that, so that doesn't really count. And I've used some of those minis, but yeah. So yes, I think definitely having projects that you want to do and looking for yarn for them has worked really well for me. That's good. So next on the list after the nurtured was a zwig. I think that's how you say it. And that is by Boyland Knitworks. Now I already had some yarn. I have 3 skeins of this. It's Fibre Lily on her Aussie sock, and you can see it's an oops. I think I've shared this with you before. She last year had a de-stash of heaps of her yarns that were like oops, and so they didn't turn out quite right, or they were one-of-a-kind skeins, or just like partial skeins that she'd used some of. So I managed to get 3 skeins of this, and they look pretty similar. Well, they look very similar. So what I want to do is use one of them for this week, and then I've got other plans for the other 2. And so what I wanted to do is make like kind of a Hufflepuffy color one, but I'm not a big fan of the bright yellow and the solid black Hufflepuff colors. So more of a, I think if you've seen my 2 Hufflepuff scarves I knitted last year, They're in the Lion brand yarn, and yeah, so that kind of color scheme with the kind of more muted, slightly mustard gold, and then a lovely little grey to go along with it. So I did find some grey. I was tossing up. I was at Three Mums Yarn, and they had a lighter grey and a darker grey, and I'll put a picture in because I actually took some to try to make up my mind. And originally I was thinking the darker grey because that's what I had pictured, but actually the sweater has some really nice detailing in the main body of the colour. The main coloured yarn, which is the grey for me, that I think might get a bit lost in the darker colour. So I ended up going with the lighter colour, which I bought. So 3 skeins of that to go with that one. So I'm really happy with that. Only thing I want to say about that is I was really confused about the amount of yarn required for this sweater, because there does seem to be an error, or perhaps a couple of errors in the yarn requirements. So in the PDF pattern, for the size I'm making, which I think is the 3rd size along, that's the one I'm planning at the moment, I might change my mind, it says 1200 yards or 1326 meters, which when I said that out loud, I hadn't really thought about it much, but Deanne was like, that's not right, because meters are longer than yards, so it'll be less meters for that amount of yards, which was good, because I was looking at the meters and being like, there's 425 meters, so to get 1300 yards, I thought I'd need 1300 meters, I thought I'd need 4 skeins, but I had previously worked out that I only needed 3 for a fingering weight, for most fingering weight yarns. Yeah, so there's that, and then sometimes between the pattern and the Ravelry page, sometimes it shows 6 sizes worth of yarn, and sometimes it shows us 7 sizes worth of yarn. So I have put in a note on Ravelry. I'm not really certain how that works. I put in a note about the error, so hopefully that'll get fixed up. I'm not sure, but it was very confusing. Thankfully I had other people around me who were like, that doesn't seem quite right. So that's good. Because yeah, I remember in my own personal notes that I'd originally written 1200 yards, and then I must have Googled how many meters that is. So I've written that down, but then when I compared that to the pattern, it didn't match. So I just copied what the pattern said and edited my notes, which I should have just left at what I'd Googled, but okay. Yeah, so I'm very excited about this one. It's gonna be nice, but probably won't cast that one on for a while. I'm gonna prioritize a few other things at the moment. I want to finish my own sew faded, and then the sew faded for someone else, and I have a project I'm gonna make for Matt as well. He's not getting a sew faded, that's nope. But I did, so if you remember my slouch hat that I made back over the summer with some Ren and Ollie yarn, so I thought I'd make one of those for Matt. And so he's been wearing that a little bit, and he wore it yesterday just to see if he liked the fit and the style of it. And we ended up getting this one from Trichromate Yarns. And I've seen Trichromate Yarns on Instagram, and to be honest, I wasn't following them until yesterday, because their photos of their yarn, they look nice on Instagram, but in person, they just have so much more depth. Is depth the right word? I don't know. They're like really nice, kind of semi-solid tonal colors. And then now there's so many of their yarns I want to buy. But yeah, some I didn't have plans for, so I'll come back to that later. Pardon me. Yes. And then one that I thought maybe I would use for another project I'll talk about in a moment. But I need 2 skeins of different colours, and I didn't have the second one, so I just left that. But yeah, this one is really nice, and I think that'll make a really nice hat for Matt. He wears a lot of the reddy, maroony colours and sort of dark, deep blue colours as well. He wanted me to get 2 skeins of yarn to make him 2 hats. So a red one and a blue one. And like, yeah, we were looking at blue ones as well. The one he ended up liking was sold. So it was the same one at Trichromate Yarns, but he didn't buy it initially because he was like, oh, I've got to look at other places. There were a few other ones we had our eye on. But I was like, you know, you'll probably only get one for like straight away, and then it'll be a while till the second one. Anyway, because I do have other plans. I'm not going to just knit you 2 hats straight away. But yes, so Trichromate Yarns had a lovely blue as well. I can't remember what it's called. But we had me and Matt and my other friend who we were with had some good discussions about yarn colour names. One of the ones that Matt was looking at Blackwater Yarns was called Into the Darkness, which was a blue colourway. So that was a bit metal. So he kind of liked that, but he wasn't set on the alpaca, which Blackwater Fibres has alpaca. And so I was like, that's fair enough. Fingering weight, like merino nylon, is a really safe bet, I think. Yeah. So this one, speaking of yarn names, is called Sacrifice, and it's like blood red. So that's, yeah, kind of dark. I don't know. It's cool. Like, that's an appropriate color name. Because, yeah, we were having discussions. Some of the colors were like, nah, it shouldn't be called that. But, yeah, people can call their yarn whatever they want. But it's good fun to have those chats. But yeah, so this is just, it's really nice. I took some other photos at Trichromate Yarns. Like, there's this, I'll put it up rather than just showing it from my phone. But the one I took a photo of is called Royal Bluebell, and it's kind of like this bluey and purpley skein, and it's lovely. Oh, there was some other ones. Yeah, there were so many yarns. I was like, I could buy that. It's perfect. It's lovely. But if I don't have specific plans, I try not to buy it. Otherwise, I'd just spend all of the money and have this huge stash of yarn, which I already do have a big stash of yarn. It's all hidden away, and that's mostly because of the way I have progressed over the last few years from like doing a lot of amigurumi, which I'm still really keen to do more of. I just have so many other things I want to do. So yeah, I went from doing a lot of amigurumi to doing like blankets, to getting into shawls and hand-dyed yarns and garments, and then doing a lot of knitting, because I think, look, crochet can be really good with hand-dyed yarn, but knitting and hand-dyed yarn, and I love the process of knitting, which I've talked about before, so I'm not going to go into. So I have a huge variety of yarn stash. Yep. What was I doing there? Yeah, and I don't need to just add to that willy-nilly, is the thing. Projects are excellent, and having specific plans. So, yeah, is that all that I bought? That's all that I bought. I did have other plans with the Fibre Lily yarn, so I wanted to make one that's come out, I think it's recently, the Novelli sweater, which is also a Boyline Knitwork pattern. I'll pop in a picture. And so I'm going to use this for the main colour, and then I want to get pretty much very similar colours to what have been used here. And so I did find a brown that I liked, but I could not find the lighter colour that I liked. So this one's in the picture is kind of pinky, a pale pink. I'm kind of thinking I want to do a cream. Getting a cream in hand-dyed yarn, it's not a very exciting colour to dye, so it makes sense that there's not a whole range of nice creams. Like, it's basically just white. Like, it's very similar to white. So we'll see what we can find. That'll be later on in the track. I've got plenty of stuff to keep me busy that I don't have to worry. That's not the right. It doesn't matter. I'll do other projects first and come back to that one eventually. Yeah, so I think that was all of the plans. I had one other one that I was like probably pretty sure I was not going to buy yarn for, so we don't need to go into that. But both Deanne and Talia generously brought me some gifts, which, oh my goodness, is beautiful. So, Talia, oh, there's more. I did not have a good look at this yesterday. I opened Deanne's, but I did not have a good look at Talia's because I thought I knew what was in there. Okay, so this is from Talia, who is T for Talia. Oh, I can't remember. I think she's different on YouTube. That's terrible. Maybe she is. I don't know. It's this little drawstring project bag she made, and it's one of her entries into there's a dodgy bag make-along happening at the moment. So that's fun. She said don't look too closely at the stitching, but it's great. It's a little, yeah, just a little kind of one skein project bag. So maybe I'll start Matt's hat and pop that in there. That's really nice. And it's got a little crochet drawstring. So that's lovely. There's also a couple other things I hadn't discovered in here. So there's, oh, I've had some of her tea before, but Monk's Pear. It says, this classic subtle tea has a light bergamot and jasmine flavour. If you like Earl Grey, you'll love Monk's Pear. You can see why I got this one. It's nice. Oh, and there's a couple, 3 little stitch markers. There's a little star on a little lobster clasp. And then these ones are kind of on, I suppose they could be earrings as well, these ones here. But I think they're meant to be stitch markers. There's a little pink ball and a purple one. So, you know, that's perfect. Thank you, Talia. Natalie. Name is actually Natalie. Thank you, Natalie. And some badges. This little elephant. And I wear an elephant ring, so, you know, that's cool. Honestly, I just wear this because it fits me. And I can't even. It's great. So that's really nice. Thanks, Natalie. So this is turning out much longer than I thought it was going to be. But anyway, that's cool. And so Deanne also gave me some gifts, which, oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry about the rustle. So generous. I mean, there's some chockies. There's a few chockies, but so that's nice. And then she gave us each a Earl's crochet hook, which is incredible. Look at that. It's beautiful. I only have one other Earl's crochet hook. Oh man. And honestly, I'm kind of terrified about ruining them, but so they're definitely stay-at-home crochet hooks, not travel project crochet hooks. But isn't that gorgeous? And so it says G plus or 4.5mm, which I normally use the millimeter. So it's like a pearlescent sort of thing. But would you believe, as soon as I opened Instagram, after I opened this package, not like I opened Instagram immediately after the package, but the next time I opened Instagram, the first ad that I saw was for Earl's crochet hooks. Now, I do not believe that Google listens to what we say, because that's a conspiracy and that would require so much like data, and then they'd have to sift through all that data, and like that's just excessive. It does obviously, you know, target your interests, like Google knows I like crochet. It also goes on what you search, which is fair enough, like you're putting that information into Google. Anyway, that was maybe just a bit of a coincidence. I'm not sure. A coincidence. But yeah, Deanne, oh my goodness. Thank you. I said thank you yesterday, but that's incredible. I think that's everything I want to talk about. So I'm just gonna wind a skein of yarn with my new yarn winder. Enjoy. Okay, quickly, before I'm about to run out of batteries, this is my yarn all done.